Pedro was very close to completely giving up on this whole publishing idea until he asked me the one question that is most commonly asked of me. That's one of the reasons why in today's video we are going to discuss self-publishing and introduction. This is Chris Baird from selfpublishingmadeeasynow.com, where self-publishing doesn't have to be so hard. The thing is, Pedro, he lives in Peru, he's 75 years old, and he's written a book. And the book that he wrote was a children's book that he'd been wanting to get out for a very long time. His writing is in Spanish, and he was really excited with this whole idea of actually getting his book published, particularly traditionally published. The problem is the main publishing houses that he approached in Peru and other places, they just were not responding to his requests. So he wrote his children's book and he had it illustrated and everything was looking fantastic. He wanted the ability for his grandkids to be able to sit on his lap and he could read the book to them. That was the ultimate goal, and if he didn't get the book out, he couldn't even see how exactly he was going to be able to make this possible. The other thing was he wasn't even sure how many more years he had, and so this was incredibly important to actually get this going at this specific time. So the thing was, he first started and he contacted a traditional publisher. And he waited a while, he wrote back to them, he waited a while, and he finally managed to get a hold of them, and they ended up rejecting him. And one of the problems he found was he felt that based upon the way that they were rejecting him was actually because of his age. He was thinking that maybe if he were younger, they would actually do it. And sometimes I can tell you that people will judge you for this reason, which is also a great reason to go the self-publishing route, where you don't have to put up with this age discrimination, other things that other people out there will actually do. And I have quite a few clients, by the way, on this front who are over the age of 70. In fact, sometimes they'll call themselves old, but I have clients as old as 82, 83 years old. It's unbelievable, the age of people, because you suddenly have time, you have that energy, and we want to get these books on the market, and there's no reason age should be an issue when it comes to this. But he realized that some of the gatekeepers at the traditional companies, publishing houses, they simply were not willing to give him a chance, because they figured if we're going to build you up as an author, we want to make sure you have many, many years more of writing books, as opposed to he had a great book, his book was fantastic, but for some reason they were not willing to do it. So the second thing was he was watching all of the different videos that he found on YouTube and other places that were self-publishers were talking about the process of what it takes to do the self-publishing. And many of these fake gurus, they simply told him all of this step and that step. They just make it so complicated, and then ultimately wanted to charge him like $10,000 or something in order to get his book onto the market, which was absolutely way outside of the price range or the time that he wanted to do. And after all, maybe it was just too complicated. He reached this point where he was almost ready to completely give up, until he actually went on to Quora, where I normally will answer questions that are sent to me. And his key question was, what is the best way to handle this situation? And I told him, because this is a question that comes up, should I do self-publishing or should I go for traditional publishing? And I told him self-publishing is by far the best option for him. And almost anyone who's looking to first get started, you're an author, you've written a book, and it's of at least okay quality, right? Something that the average reader would give it maybe 4 or 5 stars. Perfect. It's the quality level is high enough, so we're ready to put this thing onto the market, but we need to know how to. And this is by far the best way to go. The thing is, and this is the whole point with the introduction to self-publishing, it's that all you really need is you need a book, which that's the point, right? As a writer, you've written a book or a manuscript. You're going to do some editing on it. You're going to need a cover for it. We can hire somebody to do that. I like to use 99 Designs, which you can find my link below in the description, for them to do the cover. Then you can do the formatting. I like to use Juto for that specific thing. So we have our book in the right format. We have a cover for the thing, and we're going to need like a description of the categories, just some small metadata that goes with the particular book. And at this point, we're ready to do it. We have everything necessary to go and start learning the process. And that's the biggest one. It's that you can actually learn the process. You don't have to learn all of these things at once. Just do one thing at a time as we're slowly working through the process. The other thing is there is no gatekeeper. So you simply don't have to deal with this age discrimination, these other things that you would sometimes find when you're trying to go the traditional route, if that makes any sense. And without the gatekeepers, you can start immediately on Amazon. Then we can optimize the sales page. We can start running ads against it. This is the normal flow, but we don't learn anything until we're actually at that point. So we're not using what's called just-in-case learning, but just-in-time learning. So we're not learning just in case later on down the line we're going to need to do these things, but just in time, which is when we're ready to do the next step, then we learn that step. So for example, if you haven't put your book on the market yet, you don't need to learn how to run the ads on your books, because after all, the book's not even on the market. And if you haven't finished the editing phase, well, there's no point of starting to learn how to do the formatting phase. And so we focus on one thing, one step at a time. And as you move through it, you begin to realize this whole self-publishing thing really isn't that difficult after all. And by the time you've got your book on the market and we're running ads against it, we're ready to start the content marketing phase of the entire thing. And the best part of self-publishing is that I personally have never met a single person who self-published that regretted it. Not a single person. Every single one of them said this was a great, well, maybe one of the best decisions they've ever made. Whereas I have met people who've gone the traditional publishing route and have regretted that. Or the hybrid publishing. They lost control over their own book, the rights, or they had the rights, but it was under somebody else's dashboard. They were getting lower rates on it. They weren't getting any marketing help from these companies without paying another $1,000, of which, what were they going to do? But they were just posting it out on social media. It didn't make their book sell at any level. They weren't teaching them the skills necessary to do this. Whereas on the self-publishing side, you're learning the skills as you go and becoming better at these particular things. And that was one of the things. And so Pedro finally ended up booking a session with me where we were able to go through this, and I gave him a copy of my absolutely free self-publishing checklist so that he could start working through those phases, which you also can check out below in the description, my absolutely free self-publishing secrets checklist, so that you are not going to get overwhelmed, that you can see the flow of this self-publishing process and are able to work through those specific steps. So the final thing was, after Pedro had grabbed the checklist and started working through it, he realized this wasn't so difficult. In fact, it was easy to do the entire self-publishing thing. So he finished getting his manuscript formatted in Juto after he had done the editing and made sure everything looked correct. In addition, he's ordered the cover, and that's exactly where he's at right now. You're not getting everything done in a day. When you get really good and fast at this, you can actually do the entire process if you have the cover and you've got the book. Even the formatting and the posting can be done within an hour or two for many books. It's absolutely amazing how fast you can do if you're using Juto, the right formatting tool, and once you gain the skills of how to deal with these covers. So there's just a couple of these skill sets, and when we get them in place, you're able to do multiple books, no problem at all, if you go the self-publishing route. And for him, he feels fantastic. He's seeing that the progress is being made. Is his book on the market yet? No, it's not on the market, but he knows the cover is going to be coming in. He'll get it connected in and working through on the one-on-one program. We're able to actually make progress on this as we're pulling it right through this entire sequence without the age discrimination. And that's one of the things I find when I'm working with most of my clients. I have people who are quite young, sometimes as young as 18 years old, who will be coming in and we'll be discussing things, and sometimes people in their 80s. I've never had anybody 90 or 100 years old, but for me, the important thing is that you're able to get your book on the market. You have something that you want to contribute, you want the world to see, and you want to get it out there. And sometimes you just need a little motivation. And one thing that can do that is success stories. And that's the reason why you're going to want to check out this video right up here, Success Stories, The Power of Self-Publishing. And I will see you over there. Thanks.